on behalf of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Foresight. Welcome to So You Want to Be the Chief, a podcast for leaders.
Well, she was a special guest already previously, and she's a retired chief, Billie Baber, become a good friend. I think we've been friends at least online. I don't know that we've ever met, have we, Billie?
We did one time. I was much younger. You
Well,
wouldn't have remembered me, but
I wasn't.
yeah.
I've been older for a long time. But anyway, she was on the show a couple of weeks, well, maybe a month or two ago, and talking about working for and with veterans, especially homeless veterans. And since we just had Veterans Day, and all of that stuff is going on. Everything crazy is going on, and Billie's right there helping. And I know that there are a lot of chiefs that are looking for guidance on what to do next after they retire. Well, if nothing else, call Billie. She'll put you to work. So
Heck
anyway, Billie Baber, good to see
yeah.
you again, my friend.
Good to see you, Chief.
You doing okay? I know you're
I
running like
am.
crazy, and you're
Yeah.
working and living in the Denver area, right? Aurora,
Yes.
southern part. Okay.
Denver. Actually, I'm working in the heart of Denver.
Oh, are you?
Hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'll keep praying for you, particularly for
Thanks.
your safety, because it gets crazy. I think Denver's the only place I'm afraid to drive in. Yeah, I've driven everywhere else but Denver, and I was just up there for the Cowboys Broncos game. Which
Uh-huh.
let's not go any further because I'll start crying.
I
I'm
won't.
I'm still a Cowboys
I
fan. I
won't
don't care
put
what
you through
anybody.
it
Yeah,
again.
please don't. But anyway, you posted something on LinkedIn the other day that I thought was very, very powerful and apropos to the time where we're at right now. Not just the day, but the time, because it's things are crazy. So, could I get you to read what you wrote first? Because I think that'll generate a good discussion.
Absolutely. So, I recently helped a homeless veteran, a former soldier who has lived on the streets for a decade, finally move into his own apartment. This morning, he sent me a photo of the sunrise from his new window, thanking me and promising to care for his new home with respect. His gratitude was palpable. A reminder, true leadership is about service and compassion, putting others' needs at the forefront and supporting them on their journey to growth and stability. Demonstrating the power of empathy and a service-minded approach, qualities that not only change individual lives, but strengthen teams and communities. And that's my post.
I've said this for decades, and it's I think you'll find it to be true. Chiefs don't cry, but sometimes our eyeballs sweat.
Yes.
And as I read it, and I stopped there, I held back. But when I read that post, there was some sweating going on because I thought, we always, and I don't know, things have changed. When did you retire?
In 23.
Okay, so you're from
Hmm.
the still the young class, I'll say, of chiefs who retired fairly recently. But back
Hmm.
in the day, I retired in '02, so that's 23 years ago. And
Hmm.
the way I was brought up was that once a chief, you're always a chief.
Yeah.
And you know that I taught at the Air Force Academy for almost 20 years,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I still go up there 2 or 3 times a week, and I still strive to be a chief to them, even after 23 years of retirement, because
Hmm.
that what I was taught, that you want once you become a chief, you are a chief. You express being a chief no matter what. I can't stand shaving. I just did a few minutes ago. I just did only because I'm going to do this show. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Although that actually hurts because if there's too much growth, it hurts pulling. Anyway,
Yes. Yes.
but I do it because again, I want to model what a chief should be, do, think, look like, and all that kind of stuff. And one of the key things I think, and we've said this forever, and it's actually in our title, the servanthood, serving others, that never ends, does it, Billie? I mean, and again, you've only been retired a couple of years. I hope, and there are some people that say, once I'm done, I'm done. I'm not in the military, all that stuff. Call me Bob, call me Billie, whatever. But if we're really deeply a chief, I think you got to keep serving. And there are people who need serving, and they're
Mhm.
not necessarily chiefs, because I think this person was an NCO,
Yes,
staff
NCO.
sergeant, yeah. And
Hmm.
we help everyone, and I'll tell you what, Billy, even I help people that I probably shouldn't help, civilians and all that kind of stuff, because that's what I'm supposed to do. And
Yeah.
and a lot of along with that, I see on social media plenty of retired chiefs who are looking for their purpose, and
Hmm.
and it may be financial, work related, that type of thing. But and
Hmm.
that's good. But the service part never goes away. We can always serve. You're nodding, so I think you're agreeing.
Yes, I mean, absolutely, Chief. Even though it's been 2 years since I retired, I was still trying to find my place in the world. Held a couple positions and, in corporate, did some consulting and just didn't feel like it was where I needed to be. And, took a almost a year off and just tried to figure out what it was I wanted to do next. And, when I read about, the Veteran Service Center here in Denver, I actually went, I walked over there and knocked on the door because I wanted to talk to somebody. And it's a day lounge, and so it's pretty locked up tightly. If you don't work there, it's pretty hard to get in. And so I wasn't able to get in. But what I did do was I applied for a position that was basically a receptionist position for the Veteran Service Center. And because I just wanted to get my foot in the door. I said, I deeply feel that mission and I deeply want to help. And so when I applied for the receptionist position and they called me up for the interview, they were like, "You're not a receptionist." And I was like, I can be whatever you need me to be. I just want to be a part of that mission. And I just want to be, use my experience as a veteran and as a chief and to continue serving. And so they brought me on and they didn't make me the receptionist. They brought me on as a social worker case manager and then have just kind of moved up through those ranks. And now I'm a supervisor of quite a few case managers. So not only do I get to help our homeless veterans, but I also get to take care of our case managers because this job is not easy. And, a lot of the case managers are young, straight out of college with their master's degrees. This is what they want to do. And again, you know how we're in the Air Force and we want to grow our leaders and we want to keep them, right? We want to invest in them and we want to keep them. We don't want them to leave because they're doing a service and they're contributing, and we want to continue to invest in them to contribute. And that's how I feel about these social workers and the case managers that I supervise, because I can see how easy it is to get burnt out, taking care of people on their worst day in their life is not easy. And so not only am I contributing to the homeless veteran population, but I am contributing, hopefully taking care of these case managers because their heart is in the right place and we want them to stay in that place and not ever lose that.
And I think, and obviously your heart is a heart of service, Billy. And I haven't known you that long, and I've known you mostly online with Lugo and all that. So
Yeah.
from the few times that we've been connected, I can tell that your heart is one of service. And I think whether we like it or not, as chiefs, we develop that. I don't know that everyone has that to begin with, because there are some people that are out to get promoted.
Right.
And that's okay. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that necessarily.
absolutely.
Not the best reason to make
Right.
chief or to be a chief, but I think that even those who end up making chief and being a chief, well, making chief, then when
Hmm.
they become a chief, it's different, because then it's a heart of service where, I'm going to serve everyone. I don't care who it is, above me, below
Yeah.
me, around me, within me, all of that, and within me too, because you got to do that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
and I think once you have that, you can continue to maintain that. You can continue to perpetuate it in many, many ways, And a lot of
Hmm.
times, especially for the young chiefs, or not necessarily the young chiefs, everyone's young to me anymore, but the chiefs who are retiring, who are looking for a purpose, well, it may not be that job thing.
Hmm.
It may be, and I've told people, especially the second time I retired, because they said, you're young, you can still keep going. I said, well, you're wrong. I'm not, but I can still keep going in a different way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as I told them, I retired from the job so that I could do my work, which
Yep.
I think you understand because you're doing your
Yep.
work. The job,
Hmm.
I mean, I hope that within the next 5 minutes that we're talking, that Congress will fix the budget and all that kind of stuff,
Oh
and our
gosh,
warriors will
yes.
all start getting paid as they should be
Yeah.
already.
Yes.
But that's not a political thing. I'm just saying that that's a service
No.
thing,
Yeah.
because we want our people to be back at least at the square one, because that's all it
Yeah.
gets us. We're not getting more money. We're just getting the money that
Right.
we owed, and that's fair. But
Yes.
nonetheless, I think that we can make ourselves valuable by doing our work, which is service related, not job related as such. And again, if you're a chief out there and you're listening and you're thinking about retiring, you're about to retire. Dan Hall, you're about to retire. I hope you're listening. I know you will. Uh, there's a place for you to serve, to continue to
Hmm.
serve,
Hmm.
and hopefully make some money at it too. We all got to make a
Yeah.
living, but
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah.
the service I think is way more important. And the chiefs that I knew were real, no kidding chiefs from the beginning. Didn't
Hmm.
care about the money or the rank or the car, what is it, the parking space. They didn't care about that stuff. Well,
No.
I did. Okay, I drove BMWs, but anyway, um, so there is service out there that we can all apply for and do it well. Now, these youngsters, and well, this is November, something like this, November 9th that we're recording this. The,
Hmm.
especially in Colorado, Billy, and you've been here a while, it's starting to get cold. The last,
Yes.
the high temperature for today was 44, I think. The low when I got up was 12. That's cold. And you
Very
work with
cold.
homeless people. Now,
Yes.
how do we help them? Do you have a solution that we can send to President Trump and say, sir, watch her, and this is the answer. Do it, and we won't have any homeless veterans.
Oh gosh, my solution would be it's just too simple. We've got Chief, and this isn't political at all either, but we've got billionaires in this world, that could wipe it out. They could just wipe it out. The majority of these veterans, it's a lot of it is mental health, a lot of it is, PTSD, other mental health issues that are going on. It is disheartening when there is so much money in this world, and especially in the United States, where we could absolutely take care of every single one of our veterans.
Yeah.
And
But as
until
you
that,
mentioned last time, if I remember, Billy, you mentioned that it's not just the money. It also is
oh,
the person trying to get them. I don't know if you're
yes.
recruiting, but last time we talked, you said you were kind of like a recruiter going out there to find these people and
Hmm.
forcing them almost to seek help because they weren't willing to. I was in family support, if you remember, back in
Yes.
100 years ago, and we it was unfortunate, but this was at Ramstein. We had many spouses, women, wives, who would come in and talk to us who obviously had been battered,
Hmm.
physically abused. I mean, there
Yes.
was no doubt. And some of the counselors would guide them to what do you do? What's next? And they would not leave their husbands.
Right.
It was they were
Yeah.
just so what there's co something, I can't think of the term, that
Codependence.
codependent, that
Hmm.
they would rather live with that than to seek real, no kidding, help. And
Yeah.
it's easier to say when you're not in it.
Right.
Go
Oh,
leave them,
absolutely.
change life. All that's easy to say because we're not
Hmm.
going through it. But there are a lot of people. I see there's not as many, I don't think, downtown in Colorado Springs as there used to be, but there's still, and I don't know that they're veterans, but they always have their signs, whether they are or not veteran, please help me,
Right.
and all that kind
Yes.
of stuff. And
Yeah.
I feel sorry for them, but then there have been plenty of stories about those people are making money, man. They're not really veterans. They're not really poor. They're not really homeless. They're just making money, and they're hurting the real homeless veterans. So um, that's kind of hard to deal with, don't you think? I mean, I find it perplexing that I want to give, but what if it's for the wrong cause? What if they take it and go dope up? I
So,
wouldn't be able to live with myself that way.
well, and yeah, there's bad actors in every aspect of life. If we could weed out the bad actors and focus in on all of the goodness, Man, that would be amazing. So, and this is my perspective on it, is if your heart is in the right place and you're giving, that's really all that matters. Now, what that person does with your generosity, that's on them. That's on them. And that's really what keeps me going in my current state and in my current job. Like I'm going to continue to give regardless of what I think you're doing with the money, regardless of in the judgment that I try to withhold. I'm human. But I'm still going to give you all that I have. And when we have veterans, I mean, we have veterans are the same. They get stuck in this cycle and they don't know how to get out, and they'll revert back because it's comfortable. And so just like a battered woman syndrome, I'm definitely not comparing the two because they're absolutely different. But with homeless veterans, they will revert back to what's comfortable, kind of the codependency thing. What do they know? And so when you deal with veterans on that level, it's when a good case manager and a good counselor comes in, giving him that hope, guiding him through this whole process one step at a time so it's not overwhelming, and getting them comfortable again, being able to live in shelter because we see it time and time again. Even we move them in to housing, they leave.
Yeah.
They're not used to the rules. They're not used to, just the rules of society. Once you move into an apartment, you've got to follow all of these rules.
Yeah.
You've got to keep it clean. You can't have people in there all the time. And so a lot of times they'll end up back on the street. So it has a lot to do with the counselor and the case manager who's helping them and guiding them through each step of the process and making sure they don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm assuming I'm probably right that particularly in the group that you work with, you can train people to do this, right? I mean, they
Yes.
have to have the initiative, take the initiative to apply like you for a
Hmm.
position, and they get the training and then go out there and practice like anything else. Probably the first,
Yes.
I hope that you don't mess it up, but you're not going to be real great at the first time that you
Yeah.
do it
Oh,
until you get
yeah.
all of us chiefs took a while for us to learn what the heck we were doing, and some of us never did. That would be me.
No, no, no,
but
no.
but anyway, so there is a place. It just and I think and now well, I'm going to say it, and I think it's true. I couldn't do it mainly because I don't got the chops anymore. I'm physically,
Yeah.
I'm not worn out, but I'm worn down, and
Yeah.
it's
I get it.
there's a point where you say if I did it, I'd mess it up because I can't even remember where I am, much less what I'm supposed to be doing. Then you'll understand. Give it about 30 years, and you'll say, "Damn, Chief was right." but
Oh no.
there,
Doug, there's been many times where I'm just like, man, I don't know if I have the chops for this. There's situations that arise, and there's situations with our veterans where I'm just like, maybe this isn't where I'm supposed to be. Maybe because it's hard. It's hard work. You're dealing with human beings.
yeah,
And that's always difficult,
yeah,
regardless, right?
yeah,
As chiefs, we know that all
right,
walks of life.
right,
We're dealing with all walks of life,
yeah,
and so don't get me wrong, I love what I do, and it's very rewarding. But I guarantee you, the bad days outweigh the good. I
yeah,
guarantee you that,
yeah,
and that's hard, and
yeah,
that's hard. And thank goodness I've got a husband that supports me
yeah,
and understands. It scares him a little bit that what I do,
yeah,
because I'm out on the street a lot, and so he absolutely supports it. But it's tough, and when you are trying to find your plot in this world, and everybody has a different calling in life, a different calling in life, and whatever that calling is, it's always, especially when you retire. When you retire as a chief, I think is even more difficult because you have all of this experience, not just leadership experience, but people experience. And how do I've always felt an obligation to the Air Force. Always. Even when I was in the Air Force, I came in as a single mother. I always felt an obligation that I was always going to do my best, and I was always going to give back to this institution that invested in me, not just professionally, but personally. I've met the greatest people that took care of me throughout my career. And so I have always felt that sense of obligation from year one to year 26. And that's a long time to come
Yeah.
out of and not still feel that sense of obligation
Yeah.
of, the Air Force sent me to all these leadership courses, gave me all this schooling. Now what can I do to still contribute and give back?
Yeah.
And I think that was my struggle when I retired.
Yeah. Although, and a lot of times, because we did struggle and we
Hmm.
did make it to the top, I think I see, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I sense a lot of people wanting jobs at the top, and
Hmm.
they forget that, man, it took me 30 years to get here.
Yeah.
How am I going to get a job just like that? Because I already did something else 30 years. And as you say, in your experience, you applied for a secretary job, and
Hmm.
I know a lot of chiefs, Billy, who have said, I'm going to go be a follower. I'm just going to go be a janitor. And before you know
Uh-huh.
it, they're the superintendent of schools, because,
Yeah. Yeah.
we have the
Hmm.
skills. We know how to do things that most people don't know how to do. And we're going to rise to the top if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But don't expect it to start there, although some do, and great for them.
Hmm.
But I think the majority of us are going to have to start lower and then move up. And that old, uh, don't get me going on this one because I can get on a soapbox pretty quickly. But we always taught our youngsters, ourselves, we learned that you don't need a title to be a leader.
No.
You can lead in wherever you are in the organization, at least to some degree, and yourself to begin with. But a
Hmm.
lot of times, I think my sense is that because we've been to the top, we want to stay at the top, and that's not going to happen always. You can get
Right.
back to the top, but it'll take you some
Hmm.
work. And I mean, you're what, 2 years, 3 years? Did you say? I don't do math, but in a couple of years now, you're supervising all of the other caseworkers,
Hmm.
and that didn't take you very long, really thinking of.
No.
Now, it may seem like a long time for you while you're in the middle of it, but when you, in retrospect, that didn't take very long for you to do what
No.
you're doing, and maybe you'll be running the whole organization here the next couple of weeks or something.
Well, and Chief, so I've not been doing this that long. I've been doing this about 7 months. And so as soon as they hired me on, they saw that potential. They knew that, okay, so this is not where you need to be. So we need to move you over here. And so and I was actually there 5 months learning. I've never, my degree is my undergrad degree is in human services because that's what I thought I was going to do. When I was younger and still, idealistic, be a social worker. And then as you go through life and life hardens you a little bit, you're like, no, I don't think that's what I really want to do. And so, but look at me now, and that's what I'm doing.
Mhm.
But I'm learning it. I'm learning how to be a social worker and I'm learning how to manage, be a case manager. And I'm learning how to lead, fellow social workers and case managers. But the leadership experience that I brought into this job and the organization has realized is pretty invaluable,
Yeah,
and my experiences working with veterans and speaking that talk has been just tremendous for the organization. I think at right now, it's just me and another veteran in the entire veteran supportive services. It's just me and another guy. And so our knowledge of veterans has just been invaluable. And I think that the corporation that I am a part of, they're starting to see that and they're trying to hire more veterans
yeah.
into that role.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense
Yeah.
because, I often say, you can't teach what you ain't done.
Right.
If you,
Yes. You,
been there, done that. No, don't tell me about that crap. How long were you there? Well, I've never done it. Well, get out of here because it's not, there's no validity to it, you know.
right.
And,
Hmm.
and it's funny because we have this thing at the academy and here I was, and we're going to tell war stories, but that's experience
Yeah.
stories. I
Yeah.
did this, I learned from this, and we think that's, especially the young folks, I think, oh, they're telling more war stories. It's all fun and games. Well, no, it's not. It was experience that was fun and games afterwards. So we survived it. While we were going
Yes.
through it, we didn't know whether we
Yeah.
were going to survive or not, but we did, and now it's funny. So, uh, so how someone that's contemplating doing something or looking for something to do, how would they? Are there websites, Billy, or is there a general place where you can find out stuff like this? The VA?
Well, there's a lot of, the VA puts on a lot of, career fairs, job fairs, all of those things. But for me, when you're searching and trying to find what it is you want to do, and what you feel your calling is, it's a lot of research. It's a lot of Google. It's a lot of nonprofits. Researching nonprofits and how do I get into a nonprofit with no experience? Because nonprofits they're unforgiving, believe it or not. That's why I applied as a receptionist, because it's very hard to get into those without that human services experience
Yeah,
or that social work experience.
yeah,
And, I thought, oh, it's going to be easy. 26 years in the military, a retired chief, I'm going to be able to get in there, no
right,
problem.
right.
And man, you want to, take a humble pill real quick.
Yeah,
They're like, no, we want somebody who has a little bit experience under their
right.
belt.
And
And
that's a
so
catch
that's when,
22. We want an experienced person. Okay, where do I get the experience?
exactly.
We don't know. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
And so
I
you
argue
have
this
to
a lot.
apply. Yeah.
Hire them, teach them. Now they got the experience. And you
Yes.
remember back in the 90s, I don't remember. Yeah, you probably don't remember. But anyway, back in the 90s, I remember we made like a billion staff sergeants. It was amazing how many folks made staff sergeants in the Air
Yes.
Force. And
Hmm.
everybody was complaining. I was at Ramstein, and everybody was complaining because we were getting two stripers. Brand new 2 year service members that were making staff sergeants, 2 or 3 years,
Right.
like
Yeah.
totally inexperienced. And I keep telling these old farts, that's what I want, man, because they haven't learned the bad stuff yet. I can
Yeah.
teach them the good stuff from the very beginning and make them
Yeah.
great NCOs. They don't know anything. Now, tech sergeants,
Hmm.
that's a different thing because they know everything.
Yes. Tech sergeants are the worst
Yeah.
when it
But we
comes
love them. We
to.
love them, but
Oh, we
nonetheless,
need them.
yeah,
We need them.
we've
We
been
need
there.
them. When I say the worst, I mean that in the best possible way,
Yeah,
because they know it all, and
right. Like
they do.
teenagers.
Technically, they're very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
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 Well, I know I'm taking you from at least some rest time because we all do need to rest a little bit. I thank you for your service. I thank you for your heart, Billy. I am just, we're close enough that we got to have a coffee or something together so I can give
Yes,
you a
we
hug at
do.
least one time
We
before
do.
you go become the CEO of Denver or something. But
We
thank you
definitely
and
do.
all of the folks that are out there trying to do something, trying to serve. Please know, and Billy will tell you, you can. There's places and there's a lot of folks that need us. They really do.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we need to
absolutely.
we need to take care of ourselves, each other, because nobody else will. Nobody understands what we've been through. Even
Right.
all those billionaires. I think part of the problem, Billy, is they don't have any idea what we've been through, what we've done.
No.
Remember that show? What was it about being the boss or something, where the CEO goes to the down to the workers
Oh,
level
yeah,
and does,
yeah,
yeah, that's what those guys need to do. Go see what
yeah,
that airman is doing and how he
yeah,
gets home and how he takes care of his kids and all that. And it's just probably won't happen, but that's probably what we need, something like that.
yeah.
And
Could
then
not agree more. Could not
so
agree more. But thank you, Chief. Thank you for always, lending your time and the opportunity so I can have a voice. And I really do appreciate that. So
well,
whenever you want me on, just let me know.
okay, sounds good. Well, you be safe out there because it is
I
crazy.
will.
And
It is.
do get a nice parka or something, a nice warm coat because winter is coming.
No doubt.
I
Yeah.
just made that up.
You did. And I think that's a good tagline. I think that's
Yeah,
a great.
it'll never sell. God bless you, my sister.
Same, Chief. We'll talk to you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We hope that you've gained something from this episode that will empower you to become a more effective leader. If you'd like to connect with us, please do so via our website at leadershipandforesight.org. The book So You Want to Be the Chief is available on Amazon.com and on Apple Books. This podcast is powered by the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Foresight.